All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Friday, January 21st, 2022 edition of the Signals from Mars. Brain farting all over the place. Friday, Fireside Friday, Signals from Mars. Album countdown. We've got a long way to go tonight. Kicking things off here on Fireside before hopping on over to the regular Signals from Mars here. And I'm going to invite Jeremy up right in the beginning because this is going to go kind of quick here. So, Jeremy, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Victor?
I am doing well, fighting not fighting anything myself, but we're thinking that the plague is spreading amongst our members of our household. We will find out tomorrow.
Yeah, how's it all going? Who's got it and who hasn't got it?
As far as we know, just my youngest son.
Okay.
But my oldest has started to show signs today.
Right, yeah.
So, and he has his PCR test in the morning. And then after that, I guess my wife and I, we have tests to take it home. She wanted to get tested right away the other day, and I said, they've told us to wait at least 72 hours to use these because we're not going to start showing signs in the first 24 hours. So we'll see. We'll take the test this weekend and see where things go from there.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll get it, but you'll be fine and, just get a light flu or whatever, light cold, hopefully. Fingers crossed, you'll be fine, yeah.
Well, my son is, my youngest is annoyed that he hasn't been able to go to school. He's saying, I'm fine. Why can't I go to school? I'm like, well, these are the rules, my friend.
Yeah.
So, but real quickly, I'm going to go through some of the bigger new releases here, and then we're going to hop right on the list because there's 94 albums to talk about.
Wow.
we're not going to talk about all 94, but along the way, if anything does come up that does merit discussing, we will. So, real quickly, albums released today: the Ferryman, which I wrote about. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that yet.
No, I actually haven't. I've only heard the one song so far, so
Yeah.
I need to listen to that one over the weekend.
Yeah, it's more or less on par. Let's see, we had Ashes of Aries come out, and Billy Talent, Giant, Sonata Arctica, Battle Beast, which you listened to and you seem to enjoy.
Yeah, I actually really loved it. Really, really loved it. I was surprised, really surprised. But yeah, it's good. Good up tempo melodic stuff. Liked it.
Okay. Let's see, we have Tokyo Blade, which Mike Jones said was really, really good. Boris, Comeback Kid, Kissin' Dynamite, The Dolly Rot, Diamond Dogs, bunch of different Frontiers releases. Let's see, Ghost put out an EP single today, reissues from Killswitch Engage, Paradise Lost, Creator, Lionheart, and Eccentrics. Live album from Creator as well. And then King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard put out a compilation. So got all that going on with today's new releases. Jeremy returned with the Patron's Pick. That small album I enjoyed. I mentioned it during the podcast that I released today. The song Summoner is by far my favorite off. But
yeah. I like a lot of the early, the first few songs on the album.
Yes.
Really gets you into it. I think it fades a little bit towards the end, but I think, as I mentioned, a little bit samey, but that shouldn't really put anyone off because it's, it's quite a refreshing album. It's up tempo, it's melodic, and, it's got that lovely sort of new album feel to it, which, I like. And, they've done a good job on it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I do want to welcome Mr. Brad Dahl. Dr. Poison, how are you tonight? Uh-oh. What's that?
Wait, am I in?
Sounds like Brad's eating.
Oh, geez, I am. I was. I'm like knee deep in a rotisserie chicken from Costco here.
That's exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, he wanted to come up, so let's.
Well, I wasn't expecting to be invited so soon, but I am always happy.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. Since we've got roughly, should I say this? We've only got a little time to bang this one out, as famous last words there. No, we've got till about 10 of. But there's 94 albums in total that people have selected. And obviously on the live stream, which takes place at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. in the UK, and midnight for me in Europe, we're going to be counting down the top 15 albums that my patrons have selected, the top 15 live albums that my patrons have selected. And I have to say that we got 100% participation from everyone. And,
that's incredible.
Yeah. And things really shifted around today. Not so much the first two spots, but in the top 10, there are things that jumped into the top 10 at the last second, and things that got pushed down to the top 15 as a result. But real quickly, let's see. So albums 94 through 90. Let's go. 94, Van Halen, Right Here, Right Now. 93, Rolling Stones with Get Your Yayas Out. And you'll see that the list is very diverse, which is cool because that means that we've got listeners that listen to all types of things. And we'll see if Johan gets riled up today with any specific albums being selected or not. But
He,
let's see,
he might, because
92.
I had a Rush album in my top 10, and
Right.
Shelley knocked it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Here's the thing. I'll say this. You'll notice that bands that had a lot of live albums will have their albums spread out throughout the list. So I'm wondering if the next time we should do like a pre-vote and vote on one album by the band. And that may be something that we do in a few weeks and maybe readdress this. But anyway, so 92 is Rammstein with Live in Nimes. 91, Queen, a band that has a lot of live albums. 91 is Rock Montreal. 90, Pantera with Official Live Proof 101. That's the only live album that they ever released. I do want to say hello to Daniela, who's in. Oh, she just jumped out. Oh, well. I was saying hello. She laughed at Brad's being deep in the chicken. But anyway. Okay, so 89, Nine Inch Nails, All That Could Have Been. 88, one of Brad's picks. How do you pronounce this, Brad? Mahavishnu Orchestra?
Yeah, Mahavishnu.
Okay. Between Nothingness and spreadsheet, Eternity. 87, The Kinks, One for the Road. 86, Johnny Cash, At Folsom Prison. 85, Alanis Morissette, MTV Unplugged, one of several Unplugged albums that have made the list. 84, The Who with Live at Hyde Park. 83, Slipknot with 9.0 Live. 82, Pink Floyd, Delicate Sound of Thunder. And 81, Mr. Big Live in San Francisco. Any of those jump out at you guys?
Well, of course, my pick jumps out because I picked it.
Okay.
That's an album.
Any there that stick out to you?
Not to me, but I was quite surprised, really. You're saying, there's quite a diversity of albums, and you can see it from this list, so far. There's a lot of albums on there that I didn't even consider. So, there's quite a wide diversity of opinion, really, on this, which is interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy.
Go ahead, Brad.
How many albums did you like? Did you make up a initial list of albums you were going to start ranking? And if so, how many did you have on that list?
Well, no. What I did was I came up with a 10 almost straight off my head because they were all pretty much what I class as classic albums. Maybe one or two in there that weren't classic, but most of them were. And then I kept the list as is. But having said that, I had a short list of another 10, which I could have put in the top 10. And I say that any of those 20 could have been number one because they're all equal in stature. But we'll probably come to some of those a bit later, I reckon. There'll probably be some that'll come in.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all of these albums are great in their own way. And there are things that that definitely we're going to come across that you guys are going to think, wow, this could definitely be in the top 10. And it wasn't there because it didn't get enough votes.
Yeah.
But we'll continue with the diversity. Let's go from 80 to 71 here. So at 80, we have Depeche Mode with Tour of the Universe, Bob Seger, Live Bullet, Black Sabbath, Live at Last, Black Sabbath, Live at Hammersmith Odeon, Overkill, Live in Oberhausen, Edgar Winter's White Trash and Roadwork, Dream Theater, Breaking the Fourth Wall, Dekind, Concert at Area 4, 2011, Armored Saint, Saint Will Conquer, Anthrax, BBC Live Concert, and at 70, we have The Who with Live at Leeds.
Well,
so again, The Who is in here twice, but the thing is that people voted on two separate albums. So, had it have been, had we have decided on one album by the band, it probably would have ranked higher. But this is hard because, there are some albums by bands that, they have multiple live albums that people are really into. So it's really difficult to kind of, pick one sometimes. That's what I'm trying to get at.
For me, that Live at Leeds is the definitive live Who album.
Yeah.
But I guess there's another one that somebody that got more votes. So I'm curious to see what that one is.
Oh, it already came out. Both Who albums already came out.
Oh, whoops. Where was I?
Live at Leeds, and the other one is Live at Hyde Park. You were
that's right.
Knuckle deep in that rotisserie chicken.
Oh man, it's so good.
All right. So okay, so let's do 69 through 60. 69, dude. Twisted Sister live at Wacken. 68. You can thank my relatives for adding bands that do not sing in English. Band out of Spain called Siniestro Total, and the name of the album is Ante Mucha Calma. That's 68. Rainbow on stage, Judas Priest live, which was their live album from the 80s, which was, the first live album that I knew by them. And then I found out about, Unleashed in the East after this. 65, Johnny Winter and live. 63 and 64 back-to-back albums by Heaven and Hell. 64 is live at Radio City, and 63 is live at Wacken is how it's known in Europe. But in the States, it's called Neon Nights, 30 Years of Heaven and Hell. 62, Dirk Schneider, live Back to the Roots. 61 for the second time, Depeche Mode with 101. And number 60, Billy Joel, Songs in the Attic. How about that? Depeche Mode and Billy Joel, back to back.
Yeah.
I'd
just like to quickly mention those Heaven and Hell albums. I mean, both of those are fantastic. As you know, I picked the Neon Nights, 30 Years of Heaven and Hell, live at Wacken. And it's just, I was listening to it in the car today. And if you listen to the song I on there, you'll never listen to any other heavy metal song ever again, because it is the greatest song that's ever been made. Put on recorded live anyway. The riff is incredible. It's incredible.
You're not wrong, Jeremy. Yeah, that's highly underrated. In fact, that whole album that it came off of just kind of got blown over. So
And who doesn't want to hear Children of the Sea 100 times live? I mean, it's just incredible.
I'm going to go with Steve Hoker for the answer.
Well, I absolutely love Dehumanizer, which is my second all-time favorite album of all time, and my favorite Sabbath album, obviously.
Wow.
So I love that. I love I. So I understand you 100%. So to kind of continue the Udo sandwich here, at 59, except with Kaizuki Band. 58, Talking Heads with Stop Making Sense. 57, Scorpions with Tokyo Tapes. That's the one that I thought would be higher, actually.
Yeah, I would have thought that, yeah.
Yeah, that was a high pick for me.
Okay, but how many live albums do Scorpions have? They have like 6 at this point.
Right. And the funny thing is, I really don't care for any of the later ones, mostly because of the production. But that Tokyo Tapes, I totally even forgot about it. I'm like, wait a second. How can I miss that? That's like a top 5 live album for me.
Yeah, it missed the cut for me, and I sort of regret it a little bit. Yeah,
you dropped the needle on that, and the drum intro, and then the guitars. It's like right there that album had me, and of course it filled an important part of my life at that stage. So highly just incredible album. Okay, go on.
Yeah, the other thing too is that well, for me, the next pick was one that made my list, which is MSG One Night at Budokan, which is an album that I've
Oh,
always loved.
Yeah,
The, the
brilliant.
the thing is, I didn't know that they have an expanded edition that has additional music on it. I mean, the additional part is Cozy Powell's drum solo. I'm a huge
ah,
Cozy Powell fan, and there's trying to think. There's another instrumental jam as well. But it's funny because watching or listening to the Cozy Powell, I'm thinking, Simon Wright wasn't influenced by this at all because the solo that he did while he was in Dio, when I saw him live, was almost identical in the sense that it's him playing along to like classical music. So
yeah.
yeah. So all right. So at 55, Kicks with Live in Baltimore, 2012. 54, another one that has two different names. Halloween, live in the UK, and in the US, it's called I Want Out Live. Let's see. 53, The Cure show. 52, Black Sabbath with Live Evil. 51, Ani DeFranco with so much shouting, so much laughter. And at 50, Alanis Morissette for the second time live at Roseland. So gone through about half the list so far. I'm sure that there are plenty surprises, both that they're not higher and plenty that you guys are thinking, who the hell voted for this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So 49 here, Whitesnake in the Heart of the City.
Oh, yeah.
48 is a pick of mine, Twisted Sister live at Hammersmith. Just ridiculously great show. 47, Paul Gilbert with Acoustic Samurai. 46, Megadeth, Rust in Peace live. 45, Iron Maiden, Beast Over Jesus, I can't pronounce Hammersmith tonight. Beast Over Hammersmith. Thin Lizzy, Life. That's one that Johan's going to be asking us about, as well as the next two. At 43, Rush with All Worlds a Stage. And 42, Rush with A Show of Hands. 41, Overkill with Wrecking Everything Live. That's Overkill's second appearance, and same deal. Had there have been one album that was voted on, it would have been higher. 40, Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy plays Monterey. And let's see. Where are we at here? Okay, so 39, Bebop Deluxe. I have no idea who that is. Live at Air Age. 38, excuse me, AC/DC live at River Plate. 37, Saxon, The Eagle Has Landed.
What?
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, so I'm seeing that I just made a mistake here.
Yeah, you did, because that should be in the top 10.
No, I just, there's a Rush album that's supposed to be higher.
Ooh.
Okay. Is it All the World's a Stage?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have thought so. I mean, it's an absolute classic, that album. Okay, I didn't vote for it myself in the top 10, but it was in my top 20.
I had it in my top 10, and that's the one that Shelley kicked out.
Yeah. There's also Exit Stage Left as well, isn't there? That's
that first album though was just I don't know. There was just a spirit to that album.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there was just something about it. And
yeah, that was a classic. I was quite surprised that the Whitesnake one was low down, but I think it's because we're a little bit biased on the polling because there aren't so many of us from the UK.
Right.
And, at my age, when I got into rock and roll, in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, everyone was into Whitesnake in the UK, and Whitesnake, it's still a massive band here. and that live album was, an album that everyone had. It was sort of treated as similarly to the AC/DC album at the time. If You Want Blood, it was one of those that everyone was in their top 5.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I now have to shuffle this around, my friend.
Do we have to start over?
No, we don't have to start over. But
well, yeah, I'm quite surprised about Saxon being lower down. But having said that, I didn't have it in my top 10. I had it as sort of like number 12. I mean, you got to think about this, that the top 20, as I say, you could interchange them really. They're all classic albums. I mean, there's so many classic albums out there, live albums, and that Saxon album is a great album.
While Victor's doing some math there, Jeremy, you can speak to this. One album that I ended up putting on my list, and I'm like, well, I don't know whether this counts or not, because I only picked like full albums, not EPs. Kind of that were released as real albums. But one of them that I put on my list was from the very first Castle Donington. It's just called Monsters of Rock, and it's every band that played there except for Judas Priest, because they wouldn't sign off on having their stuff on there. And that is the album that introduced me to Saxon and introduced me to Riot. Yeah. And just for those two factors, that's a huge live album for me. And the 2 Scorpions tracks on there, of course, I'd never heard Scorpions live post Uli. They are so good. They're so live, and there's so much energy. I think that's better than anything else Scorpions has released live in the post Uli era. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
And then you get, I think it's Cozy Powell's last show with Rainbow, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah.
So and Dio's, I think, as well, isn't it?
No, because it was Graham Bonnet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Graham Bonnet that I read a tweet
Graham
from him.
Bonnet's last show, so that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think it was his last show as well, but he said Cozy also left at the same time.
Yeah.
And Riot was such an underrated band, in my opinion, as well. I'd love to have seen them at that time.
Oh, me too, man. I just never crossed paths with them. They never came anywhere near to where I was. They were huge in Texas. And of course, back then I was young, had no money, couldn't go anywhere. So
I'm wondering whether the album covers let them down a bit with that big head on there, whatever that thing was, that furry animal.
It's funny because I've heard so many people say that that's why they think Riot wasn't bigger. And I'm like, seriously? I mean, there's been dumber album covers out there that the album was huge.
True.
I don't have any great examples off the top of my head, but it's like, geez, listen to the freaking music, man.
Yeah,
I mean, really. The first album was just okay. The next 2, I think, are just unbelievably brilliant with Guy Speranza.
What's that one? Is it called Fire Down Under, or is it Narita? I can't remember now. Is it
Fire Down Under is the third one. It's the last one.
That's my favorite one. Yeah.
It's a really good record. I don't understand the last track on there. I did have some communication with their manager and producer at the time, and I wanted to talk to him about that, but he was kind of like a guy that could get really pissed off very quickly if you suggested that something wasn't great. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to ask him about that then, because,
Yeah. I don't remember Riot bringing out a really good live album though. Did they bring? They must have brought one out, I imagine, at the time.
They've done a few with later singers. They did an EP with Rhett Forrester that was actually really good, but you can't find it anywhere. I mean, I had it on a cassette tape, and like a dumbass, I loaned it to a guy and never got it back. I have found a couple of the tracks online, and I've got them. Not the best recording, but just a lot of just great spirit in that music. And I really enjoyed that album, that first one they did with Rhett Forrester as well. Even though the band was totally different at that time, it didn't sound anything like what came before.
Yeah.
So.
funny how some bands have not made classic live albums, and yet they probably are good bands live. There's probably quite a few on our list that. I mean, I'm thinking maybe Rat ever released a classic?
Nope. I don't think so.
Yeah, no. So they're another one, aren't they? Have they?
Yeah. So, and some of these bands had like VHS tapes back in the day that were shows that were never released.
Right. Yeah.
On albums. So, for example, you have because I'm thinking that Rat may not have a whole VHS like that, but they probably have like songs here and there that came out. I know that Kiss had, for example, their Animalize show, which MTV used to show all the time. That was never put out on vinyl. You can find bootlegs of it that people have converted it from VHS to DVD and then to CD or MP3, but that never came out. But that's a good point, because there was VHS came out, and it's interesting because if you think about it, a lot of these albums that we think are classic, there's no footage from a lot of those eras when these albums were recorded. There's bootleg stuff, but there's nothing that's like high quality. Whereas in the 80s, all these bands were putting out VHSs and then later DVDs. And I think maybe that probably took away from the live album experience. Because let's be honest, there's very few live albums that are in this list that are from the last few years. Because you listen to a lot of these live albums and the bands just don't sound as good as they used to. Or you can tell that they're doing it for a paycheck because they sound really, kind of.
Well,
just like mailing it in,
It's interesting though. Like in my opinion, Black Sabbath. They never released an official live album during the original Ozzy years. I mean the one that you already mentioned, the Past, whatever it was. That was
there's Live at Last, and
that one. That was the bootleg.
Released that when Ozzy rejoined,
right?
And then they did. They put another one out called Past Lives,
right?
Which actually has, I believe it's all the material off of that album, and then additional songs that weren't on that original release.
Yeah, but I don't consider that an official live album though, because it was considered a bootleg at the time, and I know they cleaned it up for the re-release. And then, of course, with all the super editions of the late, the Technical Ecstasy, Symptom of the, Sabotage, they all have concerts on them. But to me, those are kind of bootlegs. I mean, they're good, but they're not official live albums. So I didn't count any of that stuff.
And that's one of my peeves. That's one of my peeves with these bands. Judas Priest, a deluxe edition of Screaming for Vengeance, and you look at it and it's like, oh, yeah, this is a bootleg that's been floating around for years. You can actually see the entire show on YouTube. There's nothing really special about getting that on CD or vinyl.
I do have to say, though, because I bought that and got the DVD with it, is that they really did a nice job with the mix on the sound. Hey, come on over to my house. We'll pile in the theater and throw that on, and you'll feel like you're there. It is that good. It is really, really good. So much better than watching it.
I can always invite you to come over to my house because I have a 200-inch projector screen in my home. So.
Well, that's bigger than mine. Mine's only 120. So, but it's the sound. It's the sound system though that makes it.
Yeah, I'm sure my projector is a little bit more outdated than yours, though. So. Anyway, so let's keep going here after I fix this. And this sucks because this is much like when I do the new releases. I look at the list several times. Is there anything that I repeated? No, we're good. We're good. And then all of a sudden, fuck, we're not good.
You're human.
So we left things off at 36, Nirvana Unplugged. 35, this is an Argentinian band, I believe, Los Piojos, which is the Leaves. Okay, their live album. Led Zeppelin, How the West Was Won. Iron Maiden, Made in England, which similar to what you said, Brad, originally that was made in Japan. And then after the list was submitted, I got, originally it was Killers. I said, Killers isn't a live album. I go, you thinking of Made in Japan, which was released from that tour?
And that's an EP.
And that's an EP. And
great, though.
And I got, how about Made in England instead? Just make it Made in England. I'm like, okay, Made in England it is. So,
well, isn't Made in England? Isn't that from the Seventh Son and the Seventh Son tour? Isn't that what that is? But that was released first as a video. Videotape.
Outside of the States, outside of the States, that was released on VHS and CD. So it was only not released on CD in the U.S. Then when they re-released it a few years ago, you could buy the CD copy.
Okay.
But Made in Japan is one of these weird ones because originally it was just supposed to be for the Japanese market.
Yep.
They started getting bootlegs all over the place for it, so EMI released it officially. There's an entire show. I have the entire show, and it all sounds great. The only thing is, obviously the EP was cleaned up in spots because Paul Di'Anno's all over the place with his lyrics. But it's a shame that whole thing wasn't put out. But I also get why, because it isn't perfect. But
well, so what, man?
Yeah, well, I agree. There's very few live albums that are actually live. I had this discussion with my brother. He's like, well, do we count those 70s albums? Because they're really not live albums. I said, no, we count them. They have the live name on them. I go, if we go to that, we're only going to have 5 albums on the list. So 32, we have Deep Purple's Made in Japan.
It's a great album.
Classic.
Dee Snider's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just a classic album by a classic band, and it's probably one of the, it's a very, very well-known album in the UK, and rightly so, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the first I ever bought.
They have like 30-something live albums. Deep Purple. When I made the collage as the background for announcing that we were doing this, I was downloading album covers. I said, yeah, I'm limiting it at Made in Japan and Made in England for Deep Purple. I'm like, I'm not doing the rest of these. No way. And by the way, on Trivia Tuesday, the one thing that threw people off that we had discussed, we talked about the fact that one of my questions was I sang with Deep Purple, Rainbow, Elf, and Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was Blue Star Singing, right?
On one of those live albums, Ronnie James Dio sings 2 songs. Deep Purple.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that, actually. Never knew.
You're right.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought that was a trick question, but you were right.
Well, you guys both got to co-host as a result of winning. So.
All right.
Let's see. 31, Dee Snider's SMFs with Twisted Forever. And at 30, Alice Cooper, live at Montreux, 2005. So
I need to listen.
I didn't notice we have Rob Rowe and Johan both in YouTube commenting, saying hello. Hello, guys. Hope you guys are having a great evening. Hope you guys join us live in a few minutes.
Hey, Rob. Hey.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying hi to everybody, man. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, hi, guys.
Awesome. So 29, Soda Stereo. Again, a huge Argentinian band, a huge band in South America. Their last concert, A and B, is the name of the album translated. 28, Slayer, Decade of Aggression. 27, Rush, Rockin' Rio. 26, Overkill, Wrecking Your Neck. 25, Motorhead, No Sleep Till Hammersmith. 24, Misfits, Evil Live. 23, one that I'm surprised didn't get higher, because back in the day, this was a huge album. This is actually technically a box set, so maybe that's why people didn't consider it, but it's Metallica Live Shit, Binge and Purge.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Let's see, 22, Jackal, Live from Dallas, 1994. 21, U2, Under a Blood Red Sky.
See, I didn't include that because it's an EP, but that's just me. Those are my own rules, but that is a fantastic album. Love that album.
I agree. Have you ever seen anything at Red Rocks, Brad?
No. I'm pretty much banned from Colorado. There was an incident back in '84. It was before.
You say it jokingly, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, never been there, but yeah, that would be something to go to someday. Yeah.
Number 20, Slaughter with Stick It Live. Excuse me. 19, Marillion with Reel to Reel.
Oh yeah, that's a great album. I didn't put that even in my top 20, but I really like that album. I've actually got a copy of it. It's great.
Cool. And 18, Blue Oyster Cult, On Your Feet or Your Knees. 17, AC/DC with Bonfire, technically a box set as well. And this album just got pushed out of the top 15 due to screwing up the list before. But at 16, Queensryche with Operation Live Crime.
Ooh, that's a good album.
Yeah, it is a good album. Great stuff. Yeah.
What do you guys think so far? What do you guys think of the how the master list has come along?
Impressive. Yeah, there's a lot of albums there I feel like I need to listen to.
Yeah, there were several on there for me that I wasn't expecting to see on a list like this, and it just shows what people like. You know, that we all like different things. We like a lot of the same things as well, but there's a lot that we like that's different, and it's quite refreshing, really, to hear that there's a few albums on there that I've never heard, and yet they're ones that other people would rate as their top 10 greatest live albums of all time, and that's that's interesting to hear that, really.
In fact, I'm going to say we need to have a list of just everybody's number one album. Maybe do that on another show because I'm curious. I mean, I figure if somebody's going to rank something number one and I haven't heard it, I better listen to it.
Oh, there's plenty of things that were number one on people's list that I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, but I figure if it's that important to somebody, then I want to hear it.
You have to figure that what I always say with these lists, an album needs to be voted on multiple times to make it.
True. Yep.
And everything in the top 15 was voted multiple times by people. Sometimes a whole heck of a lot. Up until today, the number one album doubled number two. I'll just say that. But today, number two caught up. And actually, number two before today was number 6. Or before
I'm
yesterday.
Intrigued.
Yeah.
And then people started voting. The last few people started coming in with their votes. And that album ended up being 2. But I think.
Are we going to run into a cry of election fraud? Or.
I hope not, because I think that some of these albums people could argue about where they're positioned or whatnot, but I don't think that people can argue the importance of these albums. You see, there are a few bands that have multiple entries in the top 15. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm expecting the top 15 to have more household names. I mean, lower down the list that you've just mentioned, you had bands like Slaughter, you've had Alanis Morissette, and some others there, which you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in a sort of a top 20 list of all time. But I'm thinking that in the 15 now, and as we get further up the order, these are going to be much bigger household names. I'm not going to mention the names now, but we'll find out as we go along.
I bet one of them starts with a K.
I would think so.
Well,
yeah, Kill Switch Engage.
And it's not Crocus.
Ooh. There, you know what? There was it Fire and Gasoline album. It is really, really good, man. I had that on my expanded list, but I'm like, I can't put that in my top 10 though. But it's so good. Keep going.
Yeah.
We're going to be here all night.
Real quickly before we end this, I just want to test out a sound bite to see if you guys can hear this.
Okay.
See if it goes up. Nice. I'm assuming you guys
Ozzy.
The chuckle.
Is that Ozzy?
That was Ozzy. That's from a bootleg from Japan called Killer in Darkness, I believe it's called. Anyway, it's a double bootleg that I have with Jakey Lee that was recorded in Japan. It sounds phenomenal, and I don't know why that was never released. That could be one of those things that they release on a deluxe edition of Ultimate Sin.
No, because it has Jakey Lee on it. They won't do it.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, you might need to send that to me. Not the original, a copy.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm just praying that Ozzy actually plays live again. That's a separate story altogether. We'll discuss that one.
I'm with you there, Jeremy. I hope so too.
In any event, we need to wrap things up here because we can continue yammering on, the three of us, for probably another 7 or 8 hours. But the Signals from Mars live stream starts up in roughly 10 minutes, where we will be counting down the top 15 albums as voted by the patrons, the top 15 live albums of all time. And as I've been saying throughout the day, is your album, is your pick on the list? We will find out in a few short minutes. But thank you guys for joining me once again here on Fireside. Thank you to anyone who is watching this, watching the replay, or listening to the replay via Patreon. And check my Patreon out if you want to have the audio version of this dropped right in your RSS to check out and listen to later on next week. So in any event, thank you guys. And